Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're getting an exclusive, high-energy look right into the playbook of the top 1% of supply chain experts. We are breaking down the exact strategies, the frameworks, and really the entire mindset that elite professionals use to turn chaotic global operations into perfectly orchestrated symphonies. You see, these experts don't just react to disruptions. Their fundamental logic is built entirely on predicting and maneuvering around those roadblocks before they ever even happen.
Okay, let's dive into this. What actually separates an average supply chain from the top 1%? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? Well, the answer isn't just about having better software or finding cheaper suppliers. It actually requires a massive paradigm shift in how we view the entire global network of commerce. The elite, they don't just move boxes, they orchestrate strategy. They look at a supply chain disruption not as a disaster, but as a chessboard where they are constantly always thinking 3 moves ahead of the competition.
So, to get there, we're going to uncover 5 elite secrets today. We'll look at moving beyond linear chains, orchestrating with the SQRDES framework, mastering the planning control hierarchy, aligning vision with execution, and finally, scanning the macro environment. Let's get right into it.
Secret number 1, beyond the linear chain. It's time to shatter the old illusion.
You know, the traditional outdated view is this rigid linear chain. You have a distinct beginning where raw materials are dug out of the ground and an end where a customer finally buys the product. But the reality for the experts is entirely different. The top 1% focus their logic on infinite continuous networks. They realize that a supply chain is really a never-ending, breathing flow of processes, information, and cash that constantly cycles and regenerates. When you view your operation as an infinite network rather than a straight line, your whole reasoning shifts from simply finishing a task to continuously fueling a perpetual engine. It's a total game changer.
Moving to secret number 2, orchestrating with SQRDES, which is absolutely the elite framework. Now, what's really interesting here is the ASCM Supply Chain Operations Reference Digital Standard, or SQRDES. It's literally shaped like 2 infinity loops, and right at the center is the central node, orchestrate. The top 1% focus heavily right here. Their logic dictates that you cannot just react to supply and demand, you have to sit at the absolute center, perfectly integrating both your internal and external processes. Elite experts use this central position to leverage business rules, drive continuous improvement, and deploy technology. They're basically acting as the conductor of the orchestra, making sure every single player is reading from the exact same sheet music. Orbiting that central orchestrate node are 6 primary processes. Plan balances requirements and resources. Source brings in the products and services. Transform creates the final product to meet customer demand. Order manages the customer purchase attributes. Fulfill gets the product shipped and invoiced. In return, handles the reverse logistics of bringing goods back in. But here's the crucial distinction, okay? The elite don't treat these as separate, siloed departments. They view them as interdependent gears. They understand that a microscopic tweak in plan instantly ripples all the way through the network to fulfill and return.
And this is where the top 1% truly separate themselves from the pack. The SQRDES model forces a company to focus at least 2 levels out in each direction, meaning you aren't just looking at your direct supplier and your direct customer. You are actively analyzing your supplier's supplier and your customer's customer. This creates true end-to-end visibility. The logic here is so profound. Think about it. If a disruption happens at the raw material level, the average supply chain finds out when their shipment doesn't arrive. The top 1%? They see it happening 2 tiers away and pivot their entire strategy weeks before it ever hits their dock.
That brings us to secret number 3, the planning control hierarchy. This is literally the brain of the operation.
In the manufacturing planning and control system, or MPC, everything flows from the top down. It all starts with strategic and business planning, which trickles down step by step to direct execution. The core logic of a top 1% expert is that this has to be a closed-loop system. Capacity constraints on the factory floor must mathematically push back against demand, and feedback alerts have to enable constant adjustments. In an elite operation, a seemingly minor decision made on the factory floor is logically linked directly back up to the overarching strategic goals up in the boardroom.
So you might be wondering, how exactly do we bridge that massive gap between boardroom theory and factory execution? The answer is sales and operations planning, or S&OP. This executive-level process is the ultimate bridge.
It forces the supply side, the demand side, and the financial side, departments that historically, let's be honest, tend to fight each other for resources, to sit down, look at the reality of the market, and actually agree on a unified, profitable consensus plan. It masterfully translates that long-range boardroom strategy into a medium-range tactical execution plan.
Let's break down how this cascading logic actually plays out in practice. It starts with, number 1, strategic planning, looking years into the future to set the broad direction. Then, via S&OP, it moves to number 2, master scheduling, which breaks things down into medium or short-range units, literally deciding exactly what end items to build and when. From there, it goes to number 3, material requirements planning, calculating the precise raw materials to pull or order. And finally, we hit number 4, purchasing and production activity control. This is the pure execution phase, actually buying the materials and controlling the daily capacity on the shop floor.
All right, secret number 4, aligning vision and execution, which is all about grounding the theory.
Because let's face it, all of this intricate planning and hierarchy is completely meaningless without a concrete foundation. A vision statement answers the essential question, where are we going? Consider this example from Bechtel, a huge global engineering firm. Their vision is to be the world's premier engineering, construction, and project management organization. Now, this brief, aspirational statement sets very strict strategic boundaries. Because of this specific vision, the elite strategists at Bechtel know exactly where to allocate resources. They invest heavily in world-class construction equipment and project management talent, and they intentionally avoid diluting their capital by expanding into unrelated areas, like, say, architectural design.
Now, while a vision looks to the future, a mission statement is grounded firmly in the present. It defines the organization's current identity. Take Nike's famous mission: bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Notice that little asterisk? They define an athlete as literally anyone with a body. That is a brilliant detail that defines their targeted customer segment perfectly. The top 1% use a mission statement not as some marketing gimmick, but as a strict operational filter. It tells Nike supply chain teams exactly what to prioritize, producing innovative, technologically advanced products rapidly for everyone from elite professionals to everyday casual joggers.
And finally, we have core values, which drive the actual culture of execution. Think about a fast fashion retailer operating globally. Their core values might include customer service and positive, collaborative relations with suppliers. In a notoriously ruthless industry known for burning out suppliers just to hit rapid sales targets, these core values act as essential operational guardrails. Elite experts know that squeezing a supplier for an immediate discount might boost this quarter's numbers, sure, but it will shatter the infinite network they need for long-term survival. The logic is clear. Values dictate the long game.
And that brings us to our final secret, number 5, scanning the macro environment to anticipate disruptions.
Every company sits right in the middle of a swirling storm of external forces. To make sense of this chaos, elite strategists use the pestle analysis. This is the ultimate environmental scanning tool. You obviously cannot control these outside forces. Governments change, economies shift, the climate fluctuates. But by exposing these external threats and opportunities, you can proactively adapt your supply chain strategy to not just survive, but to actually thrive and capture market share while your competitors are still scrambling to react.
PESTEL stands for 6 specific macro factors that the top 1% track relentlessly. You've got political factors like sudden, unexpected tariffs, economic conditions, meaning tracking rapid inflation or volatile exchange rates, socio-cultural forces, such as shifting global demographics altering buying habits, technological factors, tracking emerging disruptions like AI or automation, environmental forces ranging from resource depletion to extreme weather events impacting shipping lanes, and finally, legal or regulatory factors like aggressive new emissions laws changing how freight is moved.
Let's look at how this brilliantly translates abstract environmental factors into massive strategic pivots. Consider a major shipbuilder's PESTEL analysis. By tracking political factors, they anticipate new taxes targeting cruise ships. Sociocultural data shows an aging global population with median income, a prime demographic for cruising. Technological scans reveal the upcoming necessity for green onboard systems. And legal scans show aggressive new health and safety regulations coming down the pipeline. The top 1% don't use this data to simply react. Their logic is to aggressively pivot their entire supply chain architecture years before their competitors even realize the market has shifted.
So, what does this all mean for you? Why does this incredibly detailed logic matter? Because by deeply understanding this strategic context, from those SCORE SERDS infinity loops we talked about, all the way down to the PESTEL macro environment, you fundamentally elevate your role. You stop just executing blind orders on a spreadsheet. You begin making highly tactical decisions that actively advance the organization's overarching goals. By providing insightful feedback from the operational level right back up to the strategic level, you step out of the shadows. You become an integral part of the strategic management process. You become an elite orchestrator.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question to consider today. As you look at your own day-to-day operations and challenges, are you just managing a single isolated link in a linear chain, or are you ready to step up, shift your mindset, and orchestrate the infinite network? The top 1% have already made their choice. Now, it's time to make yours.